Hi, today our topic in supply chain management is key to successful global sourcing. So let's see what are the key successful things, factors involved in a successful global sourcing. Before discussing the successful key factors in global sources, let's define what global sourcing is. It is a process of identifying, developing, and utilizing the best source of supply for the enterprise, regardless of the location. So basically, as we know, sourcing is identifying the source, then developing the suppliers, and utilizing the best source of supply for our business and without considering the location. So this is the simple definition of global sourcing. If we want to invest millions of dollars in a business, so we probably won't do it without doing some research beforehand. Similarly, we have to going to invest in sourcing products from another country or from another location. So it would be wise to practice the due diligence. So some problems with foreign suppliers especially stem from the irreconcilable differences. Some are seemingly random and unavoidable. So, when we are buying or bringing things from another country, so we have to be very careful. And there's some problems with the foreign suppliers as well, which are not possible to cover, but some are like random and unavoidable. So we have to face those issues, their problems or risks. But we can avoid majority of the uh, these problems by taking the specific steps to ensure that there is a transparency between you and your suppliers and you understand each other. So here we will develop on how to narrow our options and follow through right to receiving the products we want that meets our standards and requirements. So in this discussion, basically we will discuss that how we will avoid those issues, problems, how we overcome those risks to get our to meet our standards and the requirement what we have from our global sourcing source. So and ultimately by applying these factors, we save ourselves wasting the time, money and energy with the wrong suppliers and ruining our business ultimately. So these are the few of the successful keys to success for sourcing in the global list we are discussing in our next slides. So in following discussion, we will see that what are these keys to successful sourcing in globally. One of the major thing One of the major thing is our ability to communicate properly with our suppliers. So first we have assess the supplier's ability to communicate. It is very important that we have assessed the supplier's ability and their strength or weaknesses in the communications. Because poor communication between suppliers and us is one of the major causes of global sourcing troubles. So miscommunications are not we are not having on the same page is the some of the one of the major causes for the global sourcing troubles or problems. Pay attention to following when communicating with a potential supplier. So here are like three things we have to be very careful while we are communicating with our supplier. One is the responsiveness, that how long does it take for our supplier, for our contract to respond to our questions, comments or concerns. So it is very important that we see their responsive communication. Then attention to detail. Are the responses we are receiving thorough or complete? So how they are responding to our inquiries or our questions. One is the timing, the other is the detail or accuracy with which they reply our questions. Then of course this is a part of also better communication is clarity. Does the suppliers communicate clearly so that we can easily understand? So clarity is very important. then thoroughness or completeness, and also the time responsiveness. These are the main three things we have to assess in our suppliers when we are selecting a supplier globally. While communicating with our suppliers, be careful that that supplier is not making some assumptions. Because it is one cultural elements of working with the foreign supplier is that their tendency to make assumptions in the absence of information. When they don't have proper, accurate information, they assume things and give you the answer about your questions. So this is a major things you have to check, that they don't assume the things. So like sometimes suppliers might avoid asking. Then second one is that sometimes the supplier don't ask you question, and they are afraid of that if they ask you questions, maybe you think they are incompetent, and sometime, and this is resulted often in a disappointment when the finished good does not meet the expectation. So it is very important that you talk and you have a candid talk, and with your suppliers, and let him give the room that he can ask you as question as many as they want to. For example, if a supplier of electric blenders isn't aware of any requirements for an instruction manual, they might not ask the customers to confirm if one is needed. Even if that supplier is aware that instructions are commonly included with this kind of products, they may hesitate to ask for clarification. The result could be that the supplier provides the wrong manual with the product or none at all. So this is one of the small example of the thing. So another thing is the attentive and the direct supplier will follow up to find out the information that is important to our product and will not make assumptions during the production. So you should be very attentive and should ask and follow the things. So follow up is very important in a supplier. However, you begin sourcing from overseas, we will likely to save time and prevent mistakes by first making sure that your supplier can effectively communicate. So it's very important that your supplier has ability to communicate with you effectively, and if you find any these drawbacks or weaknesses, try to fix it or talk about this beforehand. The next factor is that you will always request or ask for product samples from the factory, from your supplier. And check it against an approved list of suppliers with a component data form. Here is a picture of that this form is that you check the sample against these specification. Conduct lab testing for material composition for products where quality of the material is important. That it is very important that you send the product to the testing lab and check that it is composition or the build up or everything, it is according to the our requirement. And also run a comparison testing against samples from different suppliers or any industry benchmarks, and you compare with the other samples suppliers from other suppliers, and also if you have some benchmark you check against that. So it is very important that you request for a sample and then check it, test it, and make a detailed comparison to avoid any problem in future or after the production. So it is very important that you get the sample from the factory or from the supplier. Another major another major thing which you have to do is the auditing the supplier's facility. It's very important that you audit the supplier's facility or his factory or the everything from even you have to audit their suppliers as well. So it is very important that you audit them. And auditing quality management system, what you are looking in the audit is it is a pretty a structural audit, and there are a lot of companies, third-party companies, which are doing this audit for you overseas. Auditing the quality management system, then maintenance of basic facility and production equipment, production environment, operational procedures and record keeping, and then material control, controls during production control and finished good control, lab testing, engineering and designing, human resource recruitment and training, and business development and management. So basically you are checking that your supplier upon these factors. You have to check basically all their systems from A to Z, including human resource, including their environment, how they are dealing with their other suppliers or other partners and other customers. These are all included in a audit. And the facility audit is very audit of facility is very important, from where you are getting your product in future. This is a pictorial representation of facility of suppliers, which you can go one by one. After facilities audit for the compliances, just check other compliances as well, which is including the social compliances, ethical sourcing audit. Importers distributing through various retailers such as Target and Walmart often require this type of audit to ensure that their suppliers meet the retailer's requirement. Auditor checks area like workplace safety, labor practices, wages, and social benefit. So because we are very ethical businesses, so we have to do a ethical audit of our suppliers, including like I mentioned, all the things about safety, about labor practices, and about social benefit they are giving to their employees. Then also good manufacturing practices audit is common among the manufacturer of food products, medical devices, cosmetics, and pharmaceutical, and the US Food and Drug Administration and the World Health Organization commonly set guidelines for these things. So it is particularly it is anything which a human being used, eat, or use on his or her body. So these are like good manufacturing practices audit is very important, like I have explained to you. Then customer trade partnership trade terrorism audit. This is very important, that CT pact, because if it is your supplier's facility is covered with anti-terrorism mechanism or not. This is less common among audit types and seeks to confirm the security of a manufacturing facility. Auditors will check of the monitoring of computer access, inspection of incoming trucks, security training of facility staff, and other things. So of course it is not very common, but no, it is becoming more common, and common especially if you are exporting to US or Europe. So you need to have a anti-terrorism audit, and you have all the compliances they will be asked. That after I attended one of that too, when we were importing from China to US. This is a picture of a factory audit, which include the labor and human rights, health and safety, environment and ethics, and management system. So this is a if you want to see in detail, you can enlarge it and look in it. After auditing the facility and physically and also ethically and other things, then next is that we should set the clear expectation for our product requirement. It is very important that we should be very clear that what we are expecting our product and what is our expectation from the suppliers. So it includes product dimensions, any Pantone codes for color specification, packaging requirement, that double ply, cardboard, staple and poly bags, and any on-site testing required during inspection, that is cotton drop test, function testing, any equipment required for inspection and who should provide it, high post tester or equalization testers. So these are like basically a few of the examples. So don't forget to include this in when you are writing in the PO or writing in a contract. So write all these things, and it is very important that you and your supplier should be on the same page. Like I was talking that all these requirements should be on the purchase order or on contract. So just as the QC checklist is important for setting product expectation, the purchase order is your opportunity to clarify other requirements. Almost every importer or every customer which is doing buying from the overseas is familiar with the POs, but few typical take full advantage of them by including detailed expectation for an order. And it is your tool to write everything on your purchase order, an effective PO contains everything from basic information about the suppliers and the payment term to the product details, intercoms and X factory and date and more. You can write everything, or you can attach the contract with that or give the reference of that according to that contract in your PO. Since the PO is issued well before mass production begins, providing a detailed one helps the suppliers fully understand what you expect. So this is, again, I'm saying it's your opportunity to explain everything before starting the production. You and your supplier have the chance to iron out any details that need clarification before mistakes are made or problems are emerging. So this is very good that, again, after PO you will both party will check each and everything. What is the expectation of every party in this contract or in this shipping of the order. Yes, the next step is that after placing the PO, telling the all your expectation, ask or obtain or approved a golden sample. So it's called golden sample. Because this is the sample which will be your product with that you will compare all the production and all the receiving. Usually it is two golden samples. One is sitting in the factory with the suppliers, and one is sitting in your warehouse with your company. So when they are producing the things, they are checking their golden sample, and when you are receiving the product, you are comparing it with that golden sample, and those both golden samples are identical, and it is approved by both you supplier and also all the customers. So you may have requested a product sample from one or more potential suppliers earlier in the sourcing process, but you probably haven't yet approved product sample that perfectly represent what you are expecting to see in the mass production. So an approved product sample or a golden sample serves as, like I explained to you, a model for production that factory staff can refer to when manufacturing the order, and the model for inspection that any inspection staff can use as a comparison to the access the quality and the conformance to the requirement of the finished good. So I already explained to you, there are two samples, one is with the supplier and one is with the customer. After discussing your product requirements, ask your supplier to produce and send you a few samples. You check the samples carefully to make sure they are exactly what you want. You should have at least two samples that you can approve as a golden sample and send to your supplier and product inspector. Setting clear expectation is vital to avoid misunderstanding that so often lead to the problems. So these golden samples will be your samples, and it will be if there's any dispute you can refer to that, and usually the both supplier and the customer sign on it that and put a big sticker as a golden sample. After getting the golden sample, then you have to conduct product inspection. Or the first one is the pre-production inspection. This is a part of what's called incoming quality control. So you start a pre-production. Before starting the production, you do that inspection. A pre-production inspection typically look at in raw material. Yes, I was going to explain raw material components that will be used in manufacturing as a product. So during production inspection is also called the pro inspection. During the production inspection allow for the checking the goods during various production process. In addition to checking material use and workflow, this inspection type is especially beneficial for the shipment large of large quantities with the continuous production, products that involve many different processes, and products that are vulnerable to defects that cannot be reworked at the later stage of the production. So it is very important that you should have um, after pre-production you should have always inspection, and usually they have some formula that every after 1000 or 5000 that if one of the product will be taken out from the production line and checking with the golden sample. So if there's any problem, then they will stop the production or redo the things, and they will find the mistake at the on the assembly line, not and production assembly line, not in the later on stage, because usually in the especially in the large quantity products. Final inspection, generally regarded as the bare minimum importers will insist on for the quality control oversight. Inspection at this stage will be generally look at mostly finished good as well as packaging. So this is the finished good inspection, that final product is packed rightly, and this is the mostly you have to check, because you are all checking always in the pre-production, during the production, and the final inspection. So it is very important to have these inspections. Since inspection of the product is very important and very vital for the supplier as well as for the customer, for the total supply chain, so who will you have to decide that who will conduct the product inspection. So usually these are the factory self inspection. It is very important because the stake is very high for them if there's something went wrong. So then personally visiting the factory to inspect, that you can go and personally visit, hiring full-time inspection staff or third-party inspections. So usually you do in the business I was, we do all these things. Even factory was doing it because that's their stake. We were personally we were visiting the factories and getting the inspection with our inspectors, and then we have also sometime a sitting team at the location which are keep doing the inspection, and then we are doing, maybe we are hiring the third party inspection. They are, especially overseas, is very expensive if you are hiring someone, or you are going someone to inspect. So usually you hire a international reputable third party for the inspection, and they will be ultimately responsible. But they have some disadvantages also. We know outsourcing issues. So it is then you have to, in my opinion, you have to do both things. You have to do yourself and as well as third party inspection. Okay, at the end of our lectures, we should see that when we are working with a new supplier, there is always potential of unforeseen issues. Even we do all these things which we have mentioned, we still can face some issues. So it is impossible to predict anything that can go wrong. So, but I will tell you, if you do all these exercise which I have mentioned, their chances of mistake is you can mitigate, or you can reduce that. This is true for sourcing anywhere in the world, that we can protect ourselves, our investment, and our customer by following the advice we have discussed. So it's very important that you go by book, especially with the new suppliers, especially for the huge orders and the important orders. You have to be following all these. The person who is responsible for the global sourcing should be doing all these practices or all these things. So I hope it will give you a brief overview of the global sourcing and what are the key things you have to look for. Thank you for your time. If you have any question, you can write in the comment section. Thank you.